Frankie here, just finally getting round to doing the feedback for the under-12s. Last Wednesday night's game against Swansea City Haverfordwest Development Centre. A very good side, a challenging game. These are the games we want to be involved in. We definitely got stretched. So, you know, lots of positives come out of the game. First of all, the way we competed. We certainly didn't get blown away by any means. And, you know, one of the highlights really was, the main highlight was the second period, where if anything, we blew them away. Completely on top, dominated, played with great intensity, got to the ball first, won our second balls, you know, played with good width, a lot of creativity, and scored some great goals. So that was a real highlight. The challenge is, how do we keep that going? So first of all, it's a sign of progress to dominate such a good side, and really go to town on them. The challenge is, how do we keep that going? Now, we competed well throughout the game, maybe not in the first period, but we just sort of deleted that. We just sort of said, forget about that, it's gone. And that paid off in the second period, where we came out all guns blazing. So how do we maintain a higher intensity? Perhaps it's, you know, if you look at the fitness component, have we got enough energy to maintain it? I think overall, that's not the main issue at the moment. Perhaps the big issue is concentration, being mentally ready to play at a higher intensity for longer. And the big one is game understanding. So I'm going to go through a few things on that. Number one, we did defend very well in general. It's just that our understanding, certainly at set pieces, defending corners, that needs a bit of work, which, you know, is down to the coaches to work on with the players. Understanding of how to play on different surfaces. So AstroTurf, it was new, or certainly not a, you know, something that the boys have done on a regular basis. So that's something to look at, is how do we play on such a surface that skims, the ball skims off it so quickly. We need to work on our ability to get the ball down, and you know, those forward passes, how to time them and weight them so that they don't run away from us, as well as, you know, the pitch is so quick that we're going to get closed down quickly. Another big factor is, you know, one of the boys made a comment in the beginning, we don't just want to lump it forward, and that's true. But also, as someone else said amongst the group, we don't want to mess around at the back. I think that's going to come down to knowing how to play out from the back, where and when to play the ball, and how to find the space. Sometimes the space is in behind, so we need to play the ball in behind, but it's not just a hopeful ball over the top. We're looking for diagonal through balls that are going to get us in behind their press. It's something that we talked about when we played Carmarthen in the past, a team that really closes us down. Swansea did the same. So it's getting in behind their press. It's being ready to play a forward pass, not a long ball, a forward pass. That might be a pass that's in the air. It might be a pass that's on the ground, but it's through the gaps that allows us to get through and play the other side of their defence. So that's when we were getting into trouble, was when we were playing in front of their press, and then it was a matter of time sometimes before they closed us down. How else do we manage to play out to the back and actually make it work? First thing is, we need to know where the ball's going first before we receive it. That's a massive one. So certainly that would apply to most of the boys who are playing in the back positions and the midfield positions. And then, you know, are we creating enough options? Are we creating enough movement so that the man on the ball has got the option? Sometimes it's just a step two or 3 yards to the left, to the right, forwards or back, and we've got the angle to play it out. So those two things are really key to us being able to do that. Like I say, it's not always by playing short passes. Some passes need to be longer to stretch the opposition. If you look at the best footballing sides in the world, whether it's Barcelona, whether it was Swansea when they were really playing a lot of good football, they still had that option. Ashley Williams used to play the long diagonal to stretch the pitch out, to stretch the opposition, and then it gives you a little bit more room to play in front. If you play short passes all the time, then I wouldn't say it's a matter of time before we lose it, but it certainly gives the opposition an incentive to keep pressing and close you down over those short distances. So we need to make those distances longer, so they've got to chase the ball a little bit more, and it gives us that breathing space to play. Another big factor that is an opportunity for us really is, you know, if you look at where we were creative, I feel it was at short corners. So whether it's just we've got into the habit of playing in other teams, just slinging the ball into the box, and of course it can work, especially if you've got players who are good in the air. It's not something that we've worked on, and my feeling on it is, and the feeling on the way we work at TCSA is, we want to play every corner short, because we want to get better at being creative. You know, there was an opportunity where Bryn went to get the ball. Can't remember whether he played a 1-2, but we end up getting a shot on goal from a corner kick. Of course, it's a little bit tight, but that's where we can practice being creative to break down the opposition. It's something that we need to do a lot more of as a nation. You know, just looking at Wales playing against Ireland the other night, without Joe Allen, without Gareth Bale on the pitch, we lack the creativity to break down a stubborn defence. So certainly we show that when we do play short corners, we have got the ability to be creative, and we just want to get better at it. Okay, rather than just slinging the ball in the box. Of course, we can work on that, you know, later on in our development. But now's the time to get really good with the ball, to get really creative, because it's much more difficult to learn that later on, as it shows with some of the Welsh players who were playing against Ireland the other day. Now's the time to do it. Okay. Generally, like I say, we need to defend better at set pieces. Although we were, you know, we did play well defensively overall. We certainly didn't get overrun. We talked about passing angles, when to play short, yep, that's it basically, as far as the team feedback is concerned. So individuals now, Lucas, very good, like everyone else. We'll just forget about the first period, but certainly played your way into the game. It was nice to hear that we had a goalkeeper who's doing lots of talking. It's nice to hear your voice at the back. Made some great stops. Distributed the ball well at times. Where we need to work on is certainly communication, making sure that it's constructive and it's before the event happens. So if you can see something developing, if you can see a situation developing, make sure you're making the defenders, the players in front of you, aware before it happens. So if they need to get goal side, make sure you're telling them to get goal side so they can be in a position to cover and block. Don't wait until after you know the opposition has got in behind us and cause damage. Make sure you're telling them beforehand constantly. You know, it's never ending for a goalkeeper, that communication with the back players. And you know, it's certainly okay to tell the midfielders, you know, certainly influence their decisions by suggesting where they need to go with the ball. And you know, so nice to hear your voice. Just let's see if we can channel that now into some constructive points for the players to help them play better ahead of situations developing. Who else have we got then? We've got James Lester, who played in a number of different positions. I think James played at the back, in the middle, and out wide. Certainly the highlights were when James was in the middle with Bryn. We brought an extra man into the middle, and I think it confused Swansea for a while. They took a while to adjust to it, and we certainly were able to take advantage with some good interplay, some good link-up play from James, getting the ball wide, good use of the ball, good decision-making, set up a number of attacks, and certainly when James was at his best in the middle, we were at our best as a team. So that was a real positive. As far as stretch points for you, James, you just need to look at your decision-making on the ball. Where am I going with the ball next? It's great that we've got a player who can play at the back and in the middle and in other positions, and it's great that you're composed and confident on the ball. You want to keep that going. We just need to look at sometimes mixing it up, not talking about smashing it up the pitch. I'm talking about sometimes going long, sometimes going short, sometimes playing it first time, sometimes taking extra touches so that we can be more unpredictable in our play and take advantage of opportunities to move the ball into space. So that's it for you, James. Then we've got Lewis Hyde. So Lewis played a lot of the time in more advanced positions to what he's used to playing with TCSA. Did very well. Used the ball well, joined in with a number of attacks, calm and composed on the ball. You know, so that was a real positive. Also nice to hear you carrying on this breakthrough you've had with talking, you know, similar to what we talked about with Lucas, actually putting that into practice giving the boys instructions, giving the boys encouragement, giving the boys information on what to do, where to do it. So that was good. And stretch points for you, Lewis, is when you are at the back, make sure that you stay vigilant at all times. Okay, so you did get into good defensive positions, then you need to be a bit more aggressive in closing down and making sure we get those blocks in before they have a chance to get shots off and headers off. Make sure we're attacking the ball from corners as well, and make sure we're organising our teammates to do it just like you did in attack. Next up is Evan Bodger. Grew into the game like everybody else, so worked hard as ever, got into good defensive positions, came out with the ball. That's something that's been a major strength for you over the last few weeks and months, getting better and better with that. So where you need to get better and really focus on now, Evan, is the start of games, making sure you are prepared in a good state, you're feeling good when you receive the ball. You've got an idea of where you want to go next with the ball. So that will allow you to just settle down, relax, and play the game that we know that you're capable of. You've got great balance, great ability. So it's just having those pictures in your mind clear before you get the ball of where you can go, so that you can just move the ball where it needs to go with a bit more ease. Because you've got the understanding. I think it's just the state that you're in, just relaxing more on the ball, and like I say, having that picture of where you're going to go before you get it, so you can execute more in a more relaxed way, and more a little bit quicker as well. Next up is Jacob. So the highlights for me were when you were at the back, defended superbly, really gave us the platform to go on and dominate the game. Moved the ball out from the back well, positioned yourself really well at the back as well. Always in behind, always in a place where you could block, and really got us moving forward when we won the ball. In the middle of the pitch, worked hard. Again, closed down really well, made some good passes. It was difficult in that first period, especially because, nobody was really at the races. So it was difficult to get the team playing. But, the only thing I would say as a stretch point is to make sure that the players are in position, or we've got the angle for the pass before we play it. And if that angle isn't on, either just look after the ball, shield it, protect it, and wait for another opportunity, another movement from a different teammate to open up, or just play that ball diagonally in the spaces in behind, so that we can get the opposition turning, stop them pressing us, and then we can move forward and play our football a little bit further up the pitch. So moving on to Jack. Overall, got to the ball, always looking to anticipate where the ball was going, closed down quickly, which is a real positive. Played the ball quickly, a little bit more on the floor this time compared to the last game, which is good. So lots of positives there. Just make sure that when you're defending, especially against quick players, you're very careful about when you go in, especially if they've got a little bit of a run at you. If they're already running at you, then it's best to just get in line, block, and then react to their movements, rather than going in and winning the ball if we're not sure that we're gonna win it. So don't commit yourself until you know you can really win it. Okay, that's the main thing for Jack. Bryn, as ever, always a threat going forward. When you came into the middle with James and made the extra man, you made great use of it. It's always good to have a player who can run from deep, whether it's a middle position or a wide position. You certainly came in and did your best when you were at the back as well. Got some really important blocks in and tackles. Hit the post. Had some great shots. We had follow-ups and goals out of it. So, it's great to see you creating, making things happen going forward. A couple of areas where you can stretch now is sometimes we can't go forward. So sometimes we just can't, for whatever reason. Space isn't there, the opportunity's not there to dribble forward, out the trouble, and into areas where we can cause harm to the opposition. So let's look at just general possession play now. If I can't do something with it myself. I'm just going to lend it to someone else and then